Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of our 4th Age Total War Dorwinion campaign. In the last episode, so here's what I'm hoping for this time. In the last episode, we had a lot of action. There was not an ambush, but a surprise attack, shall we say, where we were caught on enemy territory with our king, who heroically managed to beat the odds and defeat the army of Rune that attacked us. We then pressed on to assault Yarhelkar with the purpose of gifting it to our allies of North Rune, thus establishing a wall between us and our enemies. That worked, except that the king was killed in the assault. And so now we're basically scrambling our armies back to Belligant for retraining. And what I'm hoping for this episode is a bit of a quiet one, where we can do some building, maybe get some training underway, really get our economy back, because with the disruption in trade to our sort of east and south, I guess, essentially across the Sea of Rune, we have suffered a bit in the income department. So we are expected to make, let's see, income, okay, projected profits 48.26. Now this is a little misleading because this is also taking into account things like the settlement that we also conquered last episode of Burn. So anyway, what I want to do is sort of stabilize. We've got a couple of settlements that need to get their Dominion buildings set up before we can make full use of them. That's these two here, formerly Dale's provinces. We are still building towards training useful things in Dale. What we have online here are the muster fields, and they are going to get us, some swordsmen, basically, some spearmen and foresters, so our tier 1 stuff, as well as a couple of levies. And yeah, we want to basically get everything secure, observe events in the south and west, and see what's going to come. Now, I just found this, which I don't think I noticed at the end of the last episode, but the Bjornings have actually taken Thrimfeld. So this is a new bit of news to me. This was a rebel province that I was really expecting was going to fall to, well, to Ravanian. I guess actually Adunabar had it, didn't they? I think Adunabar took this. They definitely have the Brownlands. I thought they had Thrimfeld, so maybe there was a rebellion here, but it doesn't look like it. Regardless, the Bjornings have it now, and the Bjornings are our allies. So we have an alliance with them, and they are not at war or allied with anybody else. So this could be a really interesting move in that the Bjornings may begin to take a little more prominence. So far, they've done nothing. They've just held back, which is fine. I don't need them to get all aggressive. They start the game in an alliance with Dale, and so with the fact that we allied with them and attacked Dale, they stuck with us rather than their former ally. So that's great news for us. I'm pretty sure that we're trading with them. And so I wouldn't mind seeing them maybe get a little bit more aggressive. It might be interesting to fight them at some point down in the future. I rarely end up fighting a big Bjorning faction. But I'd rather see them than, like, say, a Dunabar down here. So we'll see what comes of that. I think all we need to do at this point, though, is just end the season. We're going to be getting an emissary over to the east because we're not yet at peace with Rune. Wow, we're getting threatened by the elves, the elven realm. So we're just going to ignore that. I didn't know they could do that. That's really surprising. Now, you might be looking at that and think, okay, well, that signals that, the elves are going to attack you. But no, because in this mod, the elves and the dwarves and the Shire are set to be passive, basically. So the only way they will attack me is if I get on their territory. We've been at war with the dwarves for a long time now. I've never fought them once, because they're very defensive when they're controlled by the AI, those factions. Okay, we've got a candidate for adoption. I'm thinking about it. He's competent at governing and commanding. He is energetic and intelligent, and he's youthful, which is great because we need to have generals and governors who are going to last for a while. I think at this point he's looking like he's going to make a slightly better governor because he is a careless fighter, so that's -2 hit points. He is unlearned, but we can overcome some of these negatives through just leaving him in a settlement for a while. And because he's intelligent, he will get better at governing. I think better at commanding too, but it's easier just to sort of passively raise your governing skills, I think. So I'm going to go with it. He's a man of Dale. Let's check what that is, because I don't think we've had that show up. And that is a sub culture that Dorwinion can get. So this man is a descendant of the men of Dale, who tend to be skilled in trade and building. Most are loath to see the fruits of their labors taxed heavily and make poor tax collectors themselves as a result. So extra trade income, cheaper construction, but lower income tax. Well, that's totally fine. So we want him in a place where we're going to be building and trading. And, you know, we don't have anybody in Belagant. So I think we're going to have to move him down there. We don't have anybody who can do that sort of thing. So this will actually be great. I need a family member down here just because it makes me nervous not to have one. But here we go. The army is returned home with some good news and some bad news, right? The campaign was successful, but the king is dead. So, with that, we're set to make almost 7,000 this turn. Right, we've got a young emissary here, but I was sending an emissary up this way because we had... Yes, we had a settlement right here. So this is kind of the big moment. Let's just check the diplomacy for Rune, the chiefdom of Rune. They're allied with Khand, they're at war with a couple of my other enemies, and they're at war with me. So this should be a no-brainer. Now that we don't share any borders with them, they should be just fine for a ceasefire. So let's see what we can do. Typically, you can go for a ceasefire and get a bit of money back. So I'm going to actually demand, 10,000. Let's see if they've got that in the bank. All right, great. Great news. So now that we're at peace, we could actually get an alliance with them. And I wonder if they would even pay. Let's try that. Let's try 5,000. I don't mind like bleeding them a little bit because okay, so they don't want that. Do they want trade? And we don't share a border, so they may not want to pay anything for trade. Yeah. So when you get a sort of a refusal during diplomacy, I think anything after that is going to be a refusal too, even if you try to do gifts and things. So this is the message about that refusal. So we'll just try again for trade, but we are trading anyway, or we can be. And the way we're going to know that is we will be able to see our cool little trade routes moving over to these ports, or this one anyway. So let's then see what we want to do here. Do we want to retrain? 16,000 now. Oh, that's right, because we made a bunch of money. We made like an extra third of our treasury. Is that right? We've got 37,000? Yeah, we made 10,000, good over. So we made a lot of money just in that peace deal. So again, good lesson there is if you are at peace with a faction, or sorry, if you're at war with a faction and you no longer share a border with them, you can often get a very favorable peace deal and ask them for like 10,000. Usually it'll work. But yeah, since we've got so much money, let's go ahead and retrain. I'm going to spend a couple of turns just kind of buffing up this army so we can have like a plausible garrison as well as some reasonable forces to take with us, because my next move is going to be this. This is a neutral faction, actually, the rebels here. This is, these are independent, but we do not share any borders with any neutrals or any rebels at this point. Thrimfeld was rebel, but that wasn't even on our border. So I don't care about them anymore. We can take this and we can start setting this up as a little bit of a forward base in the east, but really more importantly, it's just for some trade. They've got timber here, they got fish, and this is a sort of Northmen-friendly province. As you can see there, it says a settlement of independent peoples, men of Dorwinion. And what that means is that's just the name of like the local rebels who are there. So that gives you a bit of a clue most of the time that, okay, this is the culture they're going to belong to. And that means that for us taking over this, it's going to be pretty easy. If the Easterlings try to do the same thing, they got a little bit of a longer road ahead of them in terms of pacifying. All right. So let's just keep spying, I guess. I've got this very interesting looking army of Rovanion. What sort of tempted me last time into finishing off Dale in the area by taking Bern was that I saw this army moving away, but looking at it close up, it's really nothing to be that impressed by. There's not even a full stack here, or really close to it, and a lot of this orange color is just coming in from these large unit sizes of these Rovanian spearmen. So nothing there is that impressive to me. Okay, and there is a Dunabar. So it looks like, do they have any wars? They are at war with Rovanion. So this is probably why we see these armies pointed this way. So Rovanion may go to take this. And in fact, they've got an emissary parked right outside. So I think the AI does this, even if you don't see them, like, trying to interact with a settlement. Like, sometimes on the AI's turn, they'll send a diplomat to your town, and it'll look like they're about to open diplomacy, but they don't. What I've heard suggested is that represents the AI trying to bribe your settlement, but failing. But regardless, I think that sometimes the AI will send out its agents to kind of scout out an assault. So they're planning to take this, they're interested in this settlement. That makes sense because for Rovanion, this is on their victory conditions. They need mid-deeping to win. So the AI does like to go after those. So I would expect to see in a couple of turns that Rovanian's going to be heading over here. But let's see what else we can see, because there's another settlement off in this direction of the Bjornings. Well, it's rebel initially, but I'm curious to see, you know, if the Bjornings have it, as they often do, or if the Dunabar has conquered up there pretty quickly. Okay, yeah, I mean, Reunited Kingdom, there's just no need for us to trade. We could have trade rights, but it's not going to do anything because we won't be trading, so... and we couldn't even get money out of that deal because, again, the AI will not pay for trade unless you actually share a physical border. Even if you would be trading through ships and things, I don't think they care about that. Okay, so Bern has provincial pacification. Now, this is the governor here, Sig Thorn of Dorwinion. He's the lord of the southern wildlands, which is this province. And I think that's okay. He's a competent governor. You know, more importantly, he's an adept commander, and he's got like a halfway decent army under him, I guess. And what we may want to do with this is just keep it in the area in case there's a threat up here or a threat down here, because either of these factions could start to cause trouble. Okay, so expecting 6,000 this turn, so I think we ought to just go ahead and spend that. But right, he's the king, so we don't need to worry about putting this on local governance to improve his opinion of liege, because he already has a perfectly high opinion of himself, and his authority looks like... Okay, it was 6 before, it's still 6. So let's just go ahead, queue up Fiefdom Dominion. That's going to eat up basically all of our money for the turn, but that's okay, we need to do it.
Yes, master.
And I think I want to get a spy down here, you know, just to keep an eye on these guys.
No more moves.
You know, another move eventually is going to be to take Hjorth, but I'm a little wary about overextending myself because we've already got a very long sort of provincial border here. No plans to take this because this is keeping these two factions at each other's throats. As long as this doesn't fall to North Rune, I'm pretty sure I can count on them as a respectable ally. But another turn has passed, so let's give this emissary another chance. He didn't get any bad traits off of those, you know, those failed trade deals in the last turn. I don't think these guys want to ally with us at all. I may try again, though, if we can get trade, but let's see if we can get a little bit of money out of them. Let's try for 1,000. They're probably going to deny. Okay, they want to... Okay, they want to pay, or they want us to pay. Let's, like, see if they'll pay anything at all. 500. Okay, you know what? I'm not paying you anything, but I do want trade. And so, yes, they'll accept it. What about alliance? I wouldn't mind just taking an alliance. Okay, so they'll take an alliance. Maybe I could have gotten money out of them for that. Shoot. Well, I think that's okay. Alliance doesn't do anything, right? Like, beyond just nominally improving your relations with the faction. There's no real benefit to it. It's a prelude to military access if you want that. I don't think we're ever going to want military access from them. It's more just to kind of keep all these factions feeling good. And if Rune will not attack North Rune, that would be great. Because then Rune's not going to get any stronger off of these territories. So hopefully that's going to stick around. They've got some armies that look pretty formidable. I mean, last episode we beat armies that looked like this. But still, we had some very nice terrain advantages in that battle. And that is not always going to be the case. So let's move down to Mordor, because Rune will often expand into eastern Mordor, but I'm not seeing any signs of a siege over here or even down here, so maybe they haven't, right? Or maybe they have, but it's been a long time. And here comes Rovanion.
Waiting your command. At once.
All right. Okay, so the Bjornings did take the Greenwood Vales, and they took Fairfeld. Interesting. They took Parth Celebrant. So good for them. This crossing right here was an addition to the mod in one of the later patches, I believe, and I think it was a good addition because we can already see that this falls to the Bjornings. I've seen it in this campaign, I've seen it in other campaigns, that now the Bjornings will take this pretty reliably, whereas before they couldn't, because the only way around, the only way to it was to come all the way down here and cross this crossing and then go up there. And they were reluctant to do that because that would mean moving through mid-deeping, and a lot of times they never bothered to take it. The only other way would be to go through Elven territory, and it takes a very long time before the Bjornings start to attack the Elves, although I think they will, given that time. So this basically gives the Bjornings another province. But the other reason is there were some lore discussions about this, and the one thing that I always have struggled with, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is the battle for the battle for what would be Rohan, right, with Eorl the Young. So this is in 2500 something, I want to say, and the army of Gondor. This is before Rohan exists. Kirion had led an army north because the Balkoth had attacked. They'd crossed the Anduin in rafts and were, all basically ravaging Kalinarthon. So a army of Gondor gets pulled together by Kirion, who's the ruling steward, and he sends this army north, and he crosses this river, which is, oh gosh, is it the Celebrant? This maybe this is the Silverlode, I can't remember. But at any rate, he crosses, and then his army is basically cut off from the Wold. And then we hear that that Rohan comes to sort of save them. It's not Rohan yet; it's the Eotheod. But sort of the idea that they would only cross down here does seem a bit weird. Like, that's what you see on Karen Wynne Fonstad's Atlas of Middle Earth when she describes this battle. Rohan sort of comes all the way down, crosses into the Wold. I keep saying Rohan, but Eorl, and then crosses and then attacks here. But one interesting reason to suggest that probably wasn't the case is a detail that we read about, I think, in Unfinished Tales, where we hear that Gondor had basically moved into this territory between these two rivers, between the Anduin and whichever river this is, because it was seen as important for the defense of the Anduin, basically. But the only reason that would arguably be necessary is if it was relatively easy to cross at this point, like above the junction of these rivers, right? In other words, if this is all like impassable river, like rapids or just very deep, and it's not something that people are going to likely try to ford or cross in rafts even, then there's no point in getting a presence up here for Gondor, because they should focus all their attention down here at where the Undeeps are, specifically said to be. But that seems not to be the case. So regardless, we went with another crossing up here, just to give a little more options to maneuverability, and I think it's a good move for gameplay, but also has some justification in lore. I don't have all the texts in front of me, but that's what I remember of it. Alright, so I guess we'll just end. Right, and let's not forget this guy this time. We do have some mercenaries. I will take them. So these are very basic, but relatively cheap. Only 50 men, but you know, archers are always a good buy. So that'll slow him down a bit, but I think it's okay. Okay, the dwarves and Rune, they just keep going to war just because. Alright, we've got another execution. So the elves keep sending agents into Esgaroth, and I guess there's one in there now. We get 75% on rest. So I should probably get some control posts here. Although, you know, maybe I don't need it with Dale right next door where I can just feed troops down that way. So maybe that's what I'll do instead. Alright, but I feel like we should spend something in Esgaroth, especially since there's little else that I want to spend money on at the moment. But before I forget, let's get a ship. We're going to need that to get to Tolrune. And in Rathwin, which is our capital now, actually Rhodes might be a good idea, huh? Usually I don't go for this, but we've got the money, and it's going to improve our trade, you know. It gives us about 50 extra gold. We're going to pay for it, you know, but this is only 100 in terms of upkeep cost for those roads. So we make back 50 of that in upkeep, you know, increased trade. So I think that's fair. 50 Mirian a turn for greater speed of travel, I think is worth it given the kind of empire we've got. All right, but is that a Dale army? Okay, they're not doing too much. I'm aware though that they can swoop down basically at will and put me under siege in either of these provinces. But it seems like they're letting the elves do their dirty work at the moment. Okay, then let's keep the spy moving. I think that was the army I already looked at. We're going to uncover some towns here. And they do indeed have Mordor north. So I do think it's worthwhile trying to get in here because this is a rather important region. Lond Nurnin is the province or the settlement located here. It's very fertile. It tends to be a rich region, the whole area here. And it also tends to be the last place that Adunabar hangs on if the Reunited Kingdom is doing well, which they may be. Because now we can see that this has changed hands already. So this has changed hands to Rohan, and look at that. Some guards of the king's house. They get some riders of the mark, some Rittermark spears, which is just a great unit. Effective against armor with those like Kantos barge poles, basically, that they're wielding two-handed there. So I'm curious what the Bjornings are going to do here. They're probably just ferrying, just moving this army, traversing, I guess, traveling up to Thrimfeld. But yeah, so a bit of a weird journey for them because they don't actually share sort of a border with this province. There's Langwyck. Okay, this is the Greenwood Vales province. I probably don't need to go up any farther just to assure myself that there's no Adunabar armies around. But I'm curious if, like, the Bjornings are going to go to war with Rohan. Probably not with that army, anyway. Let's get down here and see how Adunabar is doing. Or maybe Rovanion will go to war with Rohan, right? And we are allied with Rovanion. So one thing I could try is to get some military access from these people and go down and fight their wars for them, kind of long distance wise. I mean, assuming everything is working out great and I don't need to, you know, fight any big wars. But I think that would be pretty good. Okay, so we've got this town. There's one more town up here. It's probably worth trying to find it. I think it's somewhere up here. This is, okay. It's the region of North Rune, and North Rune currently owns it, which is really good news. I'd rather be at war with these guys, right? Because obviously they are basically open to us. We could go and very quickly take these two provinces, and then we've got them down to their capital and like a couple of other places, which we could leave them with, right? Like we could give them sort of a protectorate status and just use them as a buffer from the Easterlings. I really don't want to fight over here. It's just, I don't think it's very worthwhile. Another adoption. He's also youthful. He's competent. He's energetic. He's intelligent. He's somewhat learned. I'm going to take this guy. All right, so maybe this guy should be the guy who's in charge. Yeah, I think I'm going to change that. He is, what's his, okay, he's a man of Dorwinion, so he actually, he might be better off, yeah, -2 to law. So I'm going to, maybe I'll use him as a field commander. I'm tempted to put him in another settlement, but I don't think he's going to work out. So we'll just use him in the field. I'll go down here and maybe I'll... Actually, I could use some of these forces and we could maybe think about taking Yorth. But, no. I'll use him down here. What we'll do, you're going to basically govern Belligant. So for a little while, that's not going to be too great. We'll do this. Growth policy. And then he's going to take over as governor, and that should work out. He should be improving the income there. Hurting the tax, but helping the trade. But yes, see now our trade routes extend over here to the Raycoast port. So that's great. So we'll get this guy over. We'll get this guy down. He's going to be my commander over towards Tol Rune. I think that'll be good. Arguably, we don't really need one because the armies over there are pretty basic, but it's nice to have. And very nice news. Eodor has finished its fiefdom dominion. I guess we can afford to just repair that palisade. But yeah, so we wanted maybe to go military here, if I remember correctly, and financial down here. Because we're going to be at war with the dwarves like forever. So let's do that. That's gonna, it's cost 1,000, but it's gonna a little bit, you know, make up for it with the bonus to law that it offers. Then we'll gradually start working up the military stuff. All right, and this only has 1 season left, so we're just gonna keep going up the chain there. 4 seasons for you. All right, but let's continue spying. Okay, so we've got a Dunabar, probably, yes, the Eminent Wheel. So they own the province that's down here.
Yes, master. Moving.
I'm gonna guess that they don't have very much if they got beaten back.
Secrecy is assured.
Yep. Shoot. So this is probably shaping up to be us versus Gondor.
Secrecy is assured.
Look at this too. There's like a rebellion here.
Sir.
So I wonder what that was. This could be probably Ravanian. I mean, maybe it's Rune trying to conquer in here. But I want to get my spy over. Settlements are right around here, I think. And I'm really curious to see who was going for this province. Alright, and this is calling to me too. We've got gold here, we've got stone, and we've got some neat units that we can train eventually. It's just that it is such a long haul, but it might be worth it at some point. Okay, I'm going to wait until he gets attuned before I start doing any other building projects, but let's go with another hunter, and then we'll queue up another forester.
Yes. Without delay. Without
Alright,
delay.
I'm looking for also like any threatening posturing. Like I don't see the Bjornings moving really into Rohan's territory in an aggressive way. But yeah, Ithilien is owned by the Reunited Kingdom, so they're probably pressing into Mordor already. So with Eastern Mordor lost to Rune, at least part of it, Adunabar may just be, really running out of options.
Yes, master.
On the one hand, that's good. Like, I don't particularly like fighting a big, strong Adunabar. This is interesting, though, right? Rune has taken this. Usually you see Khand take it. But there's still a chance that this is going to revolt, and they'll get kicked out. Rebels move in, and who knows what happens. But Adunabar looks like they still own this stuff. So we'll see how long they can keep it. All right. They've got peace with each other. Good for them. No longer share a border. It's very interesting. But wow, okay, so they do got some big armies left. Reunited Kingdom was not able to seal the deal there on the siege. And these armies are big. They're not the most scary armies ever, but they do have some elite units. Spears of the Shadow are pretty serious. Swords of the Shadow are quite good, and the Champions, of course, can be good. But let's see, where's the town? Okay, so maybe it was Ravanian who tried to take this.
Moves depleted, sir.
And got kicked out. That looks like what they would leave for a garrison. Alright, so I want to sort of keep an eye on that. And Ravanian has this as well. Alright, so this is all very interesting. So it's kind of good. Rune has done well in the south. They haven't managed, they're not at war with Khand, which is fine. But they've taken basically Eastern Mordor, both here and here. But they haven't done anything over here, because usually that would be what they do. They conquer into this, and maybe by this time they would even be trying to get into Nereg Zigil. But that gives me a little bit of hope that it's not going to be an endless slog fighting Rune. Okay, so you're attuned. Very good. And I see these emissaries here, and I'm just a little too worried. Okay, we've already got one. We just don't want that place to get bribed.
Sir! Forward! Move out! Forward! Out of move, sir! March!
All right, there's also a half stack up there. North Rune could, I guess, be unpredictable here and try to attack me.
Your Honor.
So, given, let's see, we're up to 46,000. I mean, like, we're doing pretty good. I'm always sort of saving money. People often ask this on my videos, like, what are you doing with all this money? You should be spending it. And yeah, probably I should. But there's a part of me that always wants to get it up over 100,000 so I can get a protectorate at will. Once I reduce them to basically one province or whatever. So I think I am going to spend it, though, on this. This will get us up to our Axemen, Hunters, and Scouts, so we can get Cavalry and Archers, actually. I think that's going to be very important. I know that we're kind of missing out by not developing the trade here a little sooner, but I want to get the good units. And, more importantly than that, at the final tier, once we finish with this hosting halls building, we're going to get Longbowmen, right? As well as our Dorwinion Watch and, Dorwinion Bowmen are less interesting, perhaps, but the Dorwinion Watch are great, and these guys are really going to be helpful, I think. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so that was, well, there may still be an Elven Spy here. Let's see. 75, it was 80. I'm guessing there's still an Elven Spy in here, but at least the Dale Spy got kicked out. And we lost a bit there. Okay, so Yodor, let's just seal it as a military province. so I don't forget. And you come down and basically get ready. Oh, great. We get some more mercs. I think it's almost always a good idea to get them when you see them, especially the cheap ones like this, because you can just basically you're making it that much quicker for the pool to refresh, right? But I don't always think to check when I've just got governors sitting in settlements. What on earth is this? Huh? What? Wow. This is a full, it's like a 2/3 of a stack. Okay, it's like a half stack in terms of numbers, but what are you doing up here? They've got their Mumakil. I don't know exactly how many Mumakil they've got. Typically there's, 2 elephants per unit. What are they doing? So Harad, being at war with every other faction in its proximity. Wow. At war with Far Harad and Harondor and Khand. And obviously the Reunited Kingdom and Rohan. Somehow they got into Nirn. There is no way to get into Nirn other than through the pass at, Minus Ithil, or up here through, like, the Black Gate, or through the east. So if I had to guess, probably Harad moved all the way up here for some reason and got defeated or kicked back.
Your Honor.
All right, I got to see this. This is now the more interesting thing in the campaign. But yeah, all of this is still owned by Khan. It doesn't look like they're doing that great in terms of conquering Khan. So this is the overall, but let's see. Military, okay. Spikes and peaks and troughs. Okay, so for production, I guess that has to do with how much stuff they're producing. Territorial ranking, so they've gained a few, but it's steady. It's not like super fast. Financial, I'm a little better than they are, and population. Excuse me, they're doing very well. All right, so this doesn't tell me much. But I would guess that somehow they got kicked around up here. I've got to keep an eye on that, though. All right, let's go back. The spy's job is now to track the Mumakil and see what happens. So we're facing a strong Dorwinion. Very, very exciting. Let's go for another unit, and I think I'm doing well enough. I'm going to splurge on another elite down here because I really don't want to lose that. And look at this. So they're gradually adding. So we're going to have to take a small elite force down here to Hive. So you can double click on provinces or cities that are hidden by the fog of war to get a little cheaty view of what they have inside. It only tells you how many units are inside the city. You'll never be able to know what's in there using this method. But what it doesn't tell you is what's outside. And I know for a fact that the rebels like to get an army and just not garrison their cities. That's the AI in general. So they will have very, very poorly defended cities, like you see here, right? Where all of their units are getting produced outside of the settlement and just to stand there in the field. So that's what the rebels are doing down there. So I probably want, like, maybe a half stack, if that,
Waiting your command.
to take the island, and that should be sufficient. And at this point, I mean, actually, I can start training decent stuff here. So these guys are worth a little more than my Rovanian spearmen, but they have a little better defense, armor, but also a little worse numbers, and they can't do anything exciting like the hedgehog formation. And so I think, for garrison, these guys are still going to be good, but this is a really interesting and good unit too that I can't otherwise build. So I'm going to just train a couple of you guys because you're cheap, and then we'll start. Maybe I'll queue up some swords. And that's going to about get us to when the hosting halls is done.
Captain.
All right, what's this? Okay, yes, just a dwarven host with ballistas and other assorted things. So the thing I'm worried about is that, you know, obviously the longer you wait with the dwarves, the worse it gets because they just keep training units. Down in Nerigzagil, they tend to train a lot of siege things. So we may be facing a lot of siege things. All right, Rune is going for a Dunabar. I think that's good. All right, so now there's the Elven Spy right there. Let's see what our public order looks like. Yeah, it should be 40. All right, and we've got a decent spy.
Captain.
Onward! Out of move, sir.
All right, so I think I'm going to bring all the mercenaries for sure.
Sir!
And that's just a lot of ranged stuff. So I need some basic... Oh my gosh, I've got so much. It's nothing but ranged. I've not been paying attention to what I'm building here. All right, let's get you and you and you. And you. I've got just a ridiculous amount of archers. All right, I think something like that would probably be fine for taking the settlement.
Captain.
Let's get you, just a forester unit. And so now we've got a half stack here that's mostly archers, but we're going to have some more tough stuff as well. So we'll get them on the ship and then over here, and I think we're going to be fine for taking the city. Okay, nothing going on up in that part of the world. Very nice. Okay, and Ravanian has taken it. It looks like they're going to hold it. So good for them. I don't know why my spies are so excited in this episode. Maybe it's because I'd set them on sort of the rapid move. You press spacebar, whoops, and they move fast over the campaign map.
Secrecy is assured.
Okay. So let's find that Haradrian army. Where'd they go? Okay, they're right down here. Yeah, I'm just going to keep shadowing them, and there's Rune with a nice-looking full stack attacking Lond Nernan, so they're going to take it. Alright, I'm glad I'm allied with them, and I think what's going to happen is eventually here I'm going to go to war with Rovanion and grab all this nice territory, and I'm going to leave some provinces between me and Rune, potentially. What do I need to win again? Alright, I need Belegant, Wrathwind, and Hive. So this is a fun thing about Dorwinion. It is really a wide-open campaign. You need 30 provinces, but the ones you need are restricted to the 2 you start with and the island in the sea that's owned by nobody at the beginning. So, you know, you can get everything you need, like, very early, and then just expand however you want. And this territory is much easier for me to rule. These are Northmen. The culture is going to be good. I'm going to be able to train really good stuff. You know, all of my own units, plus theirs, their cavalry anyway, their high tier, like March Wardens. I think I get those down here. So that's going to be worth it. The only problem with this is that it does put me right up against Rohan and the Reunited Kingdom, who are doing pretty well. So, you know, if either of those factions goes to war with Rovanion, I think I want to jump in on Rovanian's behalf and fight them, you know, across Rovanion. In other words, I don't want to border the Reunited Kingdom or Rohan, at least just yet. Although I don't know what I would get, if anything, for conquering those places. Like, if I take over land in Rohan, do I get anything cool? Like, I don't think so. As Dorwinion. I think I get swordsman if I go down into Gondor. And I don't think they're super elite. But I don't think I get anything cool for going into Rohan. I think Rovanion does. That's probably what I'm thinking of. If you play as Rovanion, you cross the Anduin, you can get some horse archers, which is very cool.
Orders?
All right, let's embark. And we can get there this turn, potentially. Maybe not. It's a little weird here.
Set sail.
Am I on the island? Can I get over here?
Move, sir. Orders.
All right, that'll get me through. Great. So we're not actually at war until you actually attack.
Set sail.
So bring my one ship down, and there they are. So this is a very typically a pretty easy battle. You attack Hive from like the opposite side and just run in because there's no walls, and then this army shows up well down the hill from you, so you can rush out to meet them. Alright, so now we've got 2 strong infantry. And Burn and Yodor and Rathwin, so some good stuff wrapping up here. Let's go to Yodor first. We're making 9,000 now, so that was a good investment, I think. Yeah, I think we ought to go for control posts. But let's do the wooden wall. I was waiting to sort of build everything up here because that saved me about like 1,500 or so in terms of repairing the wall. If you just repair it immediately before you've built your own stuff, it's just more expensive. So, okay, consultation, we could do that. That would give us a bit of income back, so I think we will. Here, though, let's go, just a cheap thing. Start going down the livestock route there to get that better leather armor. And Halbarad of the House of the Crossed Spears. So you're attuned. Okay, perfect. This is kind of what I was waiting for. And so you are going to do what? 6,000 now. Do I want to go for halberdiers and men-at-arms? I think that might be a good idea. I mean, it's a little much, but if we're going to be fighting Gondor, you know, basically in Rohan, I think it's probably going to be a good idea. And he's young. Yeah, he's youthful. It just feels like spending so much money, but let's do it. It's only 5 turns. This is the only place that can build those things yet. Okay, so everything's looking fine.
At your service.
And it looks like this Haradrian army is just moving off into the west. Maybe they're trying to get back home, and their AI is very confused. But this is nice. We can still see what's happening in London. And I guess I don't need to pay attention to Lithmore Chant, but I would like to uncover, yes, Brig Estolad. So now we can just get a better sense of the borders down here. Basically, this is the kind of the cornerstone. If I want to keep Rune as an ally, this needs to be not in my hands. Of course, the other flip side of that is I don't benefit from it, and there are some nice benefits. But I think it's better, theoretically, to go for this. Oh, gosh, though. Yeah. This is one of the easier dwarf settlements to take, because a lot of times they will do this. They'll send an army well out into the field, and you can sneak in and then like take the settlement relatively easily.
Captain.
But of course, taking this opens up, you know, opens you up to attack from Rune. So what I could do is take this, gift it to somebody else like Ravanian, and then get out of here and do peace with Rune again while weakening them further. So that might be the move to make. Once we take Tolrune, we're going to, I think about this. We're already at war with the dwarves, so this will only help us to take it. We're not going to lose out on any trade, and we don't have to declare war on anybody else. Let's see how our authority is doing here. Still 6, so we got to start conquering if we want to increase that authority stat. All right, it looks like Londnernin has fallen to Rune. And did this just fall? Did I miss this? Because I could have sworn they didn't have it before. Wow. Okay, so there's going to be rebellions. They're going to have a hard time. And these are big armies. Oh, they got Warwains. Nice.
Yes, master.
All right, I'm just going to peek over here and see.
Secrecy is assured.
All right, there's Mulsad, so I can keep an eye on on that Haradrian army, see what they're going to do. Okay, Rohan and the Bjornings are allied. Right, I could mess that up if I attacked Rohan out of nowhere.
Your Honor. Your Honor. Your Honor. Moves deplete.
Now, I don't really want mid-deeping, but I wouldn't mind, like, say, gifting it to the Bjornings or Ravanian or somebody just to spite Rohan. But maybe I'll wait for that. I'll wait for this to get built up. Once I see walls around it, maybe that'll be the time. And just kind of sneak in and preemptively take it, because I don't like this. You know, I'm fine with you guys down here. The Reunited Kingdom, Rohan, you stay on your side of the Anduin. I don't even think they're, like, doing very good in Dunland yet. Are they even at war with Dunland? Okay, they are. But I bet they're not doing anything.
Your Honor, on my way. On my way.
Okay, there's Erebos, extremely vulnerable,
No more moves.
because it's not a border that they share with the human player. But let's just see, before we queue up that battle, let's see if there's anything we want to do in terms of building. Burn, yes, we're going to go with financial here before I forget. Probably want roads here at some point also, and here let's queue up the military building. And like, yes, I do want to go here, but I want to get some more troops, and we are building up in Dale, so we're going to be able to attack that pretty soon. Anything else? I think we lost an emissary up north there, which is just fine.
Yes, Master.
Okay, so we'll attack Hive.
Captain.
Now, I'm just going to get
Onward.
right here. We're going to attack the settlement.
Besieging
We are now at
settlement, sir.
war. Let's just see what they have. These guys show up as reinforcements. So inside the settlement, we've just got some Ravanian axemen. And on the other side of the settlement, it's a bunch of low-tier stuff. Now, there's enough of them that they could, you know, swarm my infantry line, but I think, you know, I've got enough, you know, cavalry and certainly ranged things to keep them busy. So this is what we're going to look forward to in the next episode. We're going to take Hive. That will basically be a very low-cost way for us to increase our footprint, increase our trading potentially, and you know, get some resources that are nice to exploit, like timber, and then just basically, you know, have another place to build up and make money off of. After this, though, I'm going to bring basically this whole army back. I'm not going to leave Hythe very heavily garrisoned. The AI, I think, will go after it, like Rune. If we were at war, they would go after it eventually. But I'm not that concerned with it. So we'll bring the army back here, and then I think we'll make the next episode kind of about getting this. Because Rune is very busy in Mordor, which is a good place for them to be busy. And if we capture this dwarven settlement before they even get around to it, if we can do this relatively easily, and let's actually, well, we'll remember to get a spy up there next episode. We'll see what it looks like. I want to kind of aim for this, and then we'll have to see what Rohan and the Reunited Kingdom are doing. So I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think, and take care until the next one.